We're going to start by cutting up the rabbit. Now, a lot of you have probably cut up rabbit before, maybe a lot of you haven't. I'm going to show you the way to cut up a rabbit, to break down a rabbit just like you break down a chicken, to get the separate little pieces so we can make the stew. Now, rabbits usually come already cleaned, ready to go. You have to, you usually will have the liver and the heart on the inside. We took that out and put it over here because we're going to use that in our sauce that we're making. But the first thing you want to do is find the leg joint, because we want to cut off both of the legs. And sometimes it's easy from one side, sometimes it's easy from the other. Every rabbit is different. You want to try to get in here where you can find the joint to cut this off. Now this is the most meat on the rabbit. We're going to get both of the legs off of here, the hind legs, and then we're going to get both of the front legs. Now, as I said, this is the most of the meat right here in the back. And we want to leave the tail section for last. And the front you want to cut right up underneath. And once again, you're looking for that joint, and they usually come off a lot easier. Now we have the legs off. What we have here is the rib cage. The rib cage is good for making sauces or broths, but not really good for eating. It has a lot of bones in there. So we're basically going to take the rib cage off. We will use it in our stew, but we'll end up taking it out. We're just going to use it for flavoring. Now these pieces, like I said, these are good to save for, that's basically the tail, and then this is the rib cage. These are good to save to put in the stew, not really good to eat. These are your basic pieces of the rabbit. You've got all four legs, and you've got the saddle or the back part. Now we're going to get our rabbit started. We're going to take it to the other side, and we're going to flour it and start our stew. We've got our rabbit cut up, and we've brought it over here, and we're fixing to start flouring the rabbit. We need to season our flour. We're going to use a little bit of onion, a little bit of garlic, and some salt and pepper. You want to use fresh pepper whenever you can, because fresh ground pepper is always the best. And a little bit of salt. Now we're not going to do an egg wash. We're just going to dip the rabbit into the flour mixture, and we're going to go straight into the pan. Let's put a little bit of Parmesan in there also. Now, as I said, this makes a stew, but this is kind of a fast cooking stew. It doesn't take a long time for the stew to cook. We just want to get a little flour on the rabbit. This flour is also going to help us to thicken up the stew just a little bit. And then we want to go straight into the oil and start browning up the pieces. We're also going to do that with the ribs and the tail. While that is getting going, we're going to start cutting up our onions and our garlic to go in the pan. And we're going to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil down the bottom of the pot, although we have some in there, so we don't need a whole lot. And we're going to get some garlic. We're going to chop some garlic. We're also going to put some whole garlic in there. This recipe actually calls for a good bit of garlic. It gives flavoring to the stew. We're going to pop and chop. And if you need a lot of garlic, go ahead and pop it all at one time. There. Now when we chop them, it kind of dissipates in the pan and becomes part of the sauce. So it's going to give a flavor, but it's not really going to be there. When we don't chop them, the whole garlic will be in there, and that'll be a good flavor for the sauce also. But you'll actually get a whole piece of garlic when you don't chop it, as opposed to the minced garlic that'll kind of fade away. Now we're ready to flip our pieces over. We're not actually trying to cook the rabbit, we're just trying to get kind of a crust on there, and as you can see, It's starting to get a little bit of a crust. There we go, those just need a minute. We have just enough time to get our onion chopped up. All right, we're gonna get that into this pan over here with our garlic. All right, let's go back and check our rabbit. It's looking like it's ready for us to take out. It's pretty well browned on this side. This is ready to go. That's really all you're trying to get. And we're gonna go from there straight into this pan over here. Rabbit was always a popular meal in Italy because rabbit's fairly common in Italy. You can pretty well find rabbit anywhere. You can find it here also. But it was very inexpensive. So it made a good meal for a family without a lot of cost. Up here, all right, now to a stew, you always want to add some vegetables, and we're going to add some mushrooms. But remember, I told you we're also going to put a little bit of Italian sausage in there. So we want to get that in now so it can cook down there with the onions. Now this is a really good Italian sausage. They sell it at your local grocery store. And all we want to do is take a piece of the Italian sausage and kind of tuck it down in there with the onions and let that brown up before we get the rest of our sauce in there. All right, we want to tuck that down in there. We don't really want the sausage in, chunks. We're going to have it have it like a ground up sausage all through the dinner, but the only chunks of meat we're going to have are the big pieces of rabbit. Now we need to get the rest of our garlic. Oops. Now this garlic, we are not going to cut up. We're going to basically just pop it and put it in the pan. You still want to pop it to release the oils in the garlic, but we're not going to cut it. Put that right in there. We're also going to chop up some tomatoes to add to the pot. Whatever kind of tomatoes you have or whatever's in season, we still have Romas right now. So we're just going to use some of those. Kind of big chunks because these are going to cook down and they're going to fall apart. All right, and the only other thing we need to put in here is mushrooms. And I have button mushrooms. We're going to try to stir just a little bit, because what we need to do now, oops, is put our sauce in. And once we get our sauce in, then we're going to go into the oven. Now we're using just a regular tomato sauce. We're going to put, this is a big can. At the store you would want to get maybe 2 of the large cans that they have. I'm using about half of that can. All right, and we're going to add some seasonings. Even though we have onion and garlic in there, we still need to add the onion and garlic seasonings. You always want to make sure you season. You need to season actually more than what you think you would have to. All right, just a little bit of salt, not a whole lot. And I'm going to go get some water to fill the rest of the pot. And when we come back, we're going to make some papperdelle pasta to go with our Spezzatina. We're going to add a little bit of water to the pot, not a whole lot. You want to bring it up, but not to the very top of the pot. And I've already added just a little, so I'm going to put just a little bit more. And we're going to add some spinach for some green color. I always like to cook with the colors of the Italian flag. Now spinach we don't even have to put down in there, because spinach, when it cooks, is going to get smaller and this will all fall apart into the pan. We're going to turn this off because we're going in the oven with this. We're going to tuck this down in just a little bit because, like I said, when we pull this out of the oven, you're going to see the spinach is just going to fall apart in there. Now, what I would recommend to use in here, if you have them, is some green bell peppers. We don't happen to have any today, so we're using some spinach. Either one would be good in there, but you always want to make sure the dish is colorful. You don't want to have just a single colored dish. Now we're going to cover that. All right, we're going to move this to a pan, because if we put this in the oven just like this and it happens to drip or spill, it's going to make a mess in our oven. So what I've done is I've gotten a sheet pan, I put a little piece of parchment on it, and that's going to get all of the spills or drips or anything that comes out of it. Because remember, when we're braising, we're basically baking it in the oven slowly. So we're going to get this in an oven that's 350. And we're going to let that cook for about 30-35 minutes. And while that's cooking, we're going to go make the papperdelle pasta to serve it on.